We're going to go ahead and record tonight's session so that if you guys want to go back and reference it at some point, you can. We'll post it on our council Facebook account. So as we get started, if you've got some specific questions you'd like for me to cover, you can go ahead and put those in the chat, as we get started here. I know that some people, certainly lots of questions, certainly this interesting times in which we live on how we can do recruitment effectively. So and we'll cover all of those, but if you have those, go ahead and start loading them into the chat. So before we get too far into the actual processes of how to do recruitment during a time like this, or even during regular times, I wanted to at least cover some of the great resources that you have. You're not alone in this. You have a team of people who are here to help support you through this recruitment journey. So first of all, you have your district vice chair of membership. They're listed there on the screen, depending upon which district you are a part of. And then you also have your professional staff, both myself as Director of Field Service and your district executive to help you out as well. So you have a team here to help guide you through this process. We're going to be covering a lot of information tonight, and it's going to be tough to remember it all, but we'll have some key resources as well as this group of people to help guide you along your recruitment path. So here's what we're going to cover tonight. So we're going to start, and we're going to do a start to finish general process for recruitment, from promotion to the event to follow-up for both a virtual recruitment and an in-person recruitment. We'll spend probably more time talking about the in-person recruitment because we do have some sessions that we've done on virtual recruiting that will be available for you to review at another point that'll go really in depth into that particular activity. But we'll talk a little bit about that to at least give you some direction to get started. We're also going to talk about what you want to do during your sign-up night, some of those key best practices to make sure that you have an effective recruitment event and that you get as many Cubs to sign up as possible. We're going to talk about some safety guidelines. Probably most important of all is how we can ensure safety at our recruitment events during this time, as well as talk about some of the latest guidance that we have from our local county. I'm also going to talk about some incentives that we have for getting new families to join. And we're also going to give you some general tips on how to get parents involved and, of course, to answer any questions that you have. So feel free to ask those questions. Okay, so let's get started with the main thing. So Scouts right now need scouting really more than any time that they've ever had before. With schools, and there's an announcement today actually from the governor talking about counties that were on the monitoring list for 3 days straight are going to be doing distance learning this fall. And I'm sure that you are anticipating that probably with your own kids. The scouting is going to be one of those few outlets that our kids have to really feel connection with the other scouts and other kids within their community. And so this program is really, really vital. We always have thought it was vital in helping to develop kids, but it's just as in this time, giving them some of that connection, some structure, some familiarity. I mean, it's really going to play a vital role for our kids over these coming months. And not just for the families that we have involved, but those new families that you guys are going to go out and recruit into your pack. So I just want to take this moment before we get started, just first say thank you for taking this project on. I know it probably feels a little bit daunting, but hopefully by the end of today, you'll feel that it is doable and you can feel like you'll be successful. So thank you. It's what you're doing is absolutely key for your unit and for scouting. So let's talk about a couple of just general guidelines or philosophies to keep in mind as we go through this process. So first, we want to be safe. We're going to give you a couple of different strategies tonight, whether you want to do in-person recruitment or a virtual recruitment, but it's important that we start with safety in mind. So make sure that you know what your local state and county guidelines are for youth activities, for gatherings, and make sure that you follow those. Make sure that you're working, if you're doing an in-person recruitment event, make sure you're working in social distancing and encouraging those to wear masks and following any other required local ordinances. If you're in choosing to possibly do a virtual, if you don't think that that's going to be feasible for your community or it's not allowed. Second thing is we're all Cub Scouts, right? So our model is do your best. And I want to let you guys know as we get started into this, your best is okay. If things don't go perfect for you, if there's going to be hurdles, it's probably going to be a little bit challenging to try to work through this as the ever changing landscape, affects your recruitment efforts. But I just want to take this moment that, as long as we're all doing our best, at the end of the day, we'll reach more kids and we'll have them be a part of scouting. So as long as we're good Cub Scouts, we'll be okay. We're also going to cover a lot of different scenarios tonight and give you a lot of different tips on adjustment. So we'll give you 2 main strategies to go with, and then how you can kind of adapt some of those things and give you ways to get around a couple of different issues. So it's going to start with a plan A, and then of course you're going to have to work through a plan B and C. And this is where I just want to remind you again that we have a whole team of people behind you to support to help you work through those plans Bs, Cs, Ds, Es, all the way down to X, Ys, and Zs plans. Make sure that you just follow those local county ordinances, try to stay on top of those as much as you can as you work through your recruitment efforts, and also trying to keep a good relationship with your schools and knowing as that landscape changes. I think the governor announced today that kind of how this in-school, out-of-school instruction is going to happen is going to be based upon the infection rate within a county, and we could go in and out of it a couple of times. So it's going to be something that we're all just going to have to monitor as we go through this process. We're going to try to keep on top of it as a council as best as we can, but we're going to need the support of all our units as well to make sure that goes well. So we talked a little bit about why it's important for our kids that we want to do a great recruitment job this year. But let's talk about some of the things that's going to be good for your pack and for your community and for you guys as leaders. So the first thing is going to be sharing your pack scouting experience with new families. We talked a little bit about that. Kids that really need scouting, we think that every kid should be a scout, and we hope that you do too. So we want to encourage you to make sure that we're reaching out to as many families as possible. Want to offer new families a full program. Most of our counties are allowing some sort of in-person program right now, and depending upon what county, the amount of social distancing is different depending upon the age groups, and each one's a little bit different. For example, Santa Clara County, which is where most of our units are, do allow in-person meetings to happen as long as the groups are of 12 kids or less. So dens can meet in person. So again, it's always more fun if you have a den that isn't just one kid, it's got a full group of kids. So offering a full program to them and having big, strong dens in your pack is going to be great. We think through that probably a lot of our packs, we shut down probably in March and we've lost connection with some of those scouts. So taking the opportunity to invite them back, let them know the pack is going and let scouting knowing again, will help provide a fun experience for all involved. One thing that I really want to cover is that most packs, when they think about recruiting new kids, especially in a time like this where we already feel a little bit stretched for resources and for time, for energy, is we're not going to recruit more kids because we just have enough parents to do what we have right now. I promise you, we're going to give you a couple of tips at the end of this to actually use recruitment as a way to get new parent volunteers. So you're not just recruiting new kids, but you're also recruiting new parent volunteers. And you can really use your recruitment as a way to change that culture in your pack and go from a couple of really key people kind of running everything to having everybody take a little bit of piece of the pie to make everything move more efficiently. And then the last thing is, it's just more fun to have more kids in scouting. And so we want, so those are some of the benefits we have for recruiting. So we're going to be basing all of our recruitment efforts around a tried and true tactic that we've been using, but of course with some twists this year. And the reason that we still want to stick with the sign-up night, which is a single event that we're going to invite families to learn about scouting, is because it offers us some great opportunities to talk to families, talking about the program, relay expectations, and again, talk to parents about volunteering in a way that just doesn't happen if we're doing it at an open house or we're doing it as part of a normal pack meeting. So our efforts tonight are really about hosting a standalone event to invite families in your community to sign up for your unit. That's our goal. That's what most of our efforts are going to circle around. Couple of key things that we want to keep in mind for this sign-up night. So it's just for recruitment. We're not going to combine it with another pack meeting, especially if it's virtual or in person. It's just too difficult to try to have a real conversation with parents about the program and encourage them to sign up and then encourage them to be volunteers if we're doing it in combination with another pack event. So you really want this to be just for recruitment. The next thing is you want to have it be timely. You want to get families in and out. If it's in person, it's for safety's sake. And if it's virtually, it's for almost for mental safety's sake, which is we're on these Zoom meetings all day. And we certainly want to try to keep people's attention as much as possible and just get them the information that they need, not overwhelm them with too much, and get them involved into the fun part, which is the program. And then the last piece is if we're doing something in person or we're doing something virtual, we want to do something that's going to be at a well-known location. I use an example, even though they have a wonderful little facility, I just think it's very difficult to find, but Troop 2 in Los Gatos, the youth scout hut. And it is kind of on this back one-way street tucked in behind the school. And it's really tough to find if you haven't been there before. So through this, we want to at least pick a location that people are going to be able to find. We probably won't be able to use this school this year to do that recruitment, but choosing a local park or other well-known outside space will make it easy for families and feel like neutral turf, someplace that they're welcome to come learn about the program. So step one is going to be scheduling your recruitment night. So the first step on this is you're going to want to talk with your school principal as early as possible. This is really important to understand where they are, what the in-person school is going to look like, really what the promotional abilities are for your particular pack. We as staff have been reaching out to principals as best as we can over the summer to connect with them, to talk to them about the possible promotional efforts that are available within their school and how we can partner to still make sure that we are effective in reaching out to families and inviting them to join scouting. Some of the things you want to think about is picking a good date. Pick something that's not going to conflict with too many school or calendar events. You're going to want to watch for those virtual things that are going on, especially with your school. For this year, luckily, we're not going to probably have to try to compete with too many community events, but if there's a lot of virtual programs with the school in the evening, you want to try to avoid those as much as possible. Again, we want to make it easier for families to participate. We want to schedule our recruitment to be early. You want to try to maybe even do August if at all possible. If you're going to do something virtual, the only thing that's really holding you up is really nothing. It's just as fast as you can get it together. We do like at least 3 or 4 weeks to do good promotion, but you can start on that sooner. In the past, we've encouraged people to push them into September or late August because we really have been trying to wait for the school to allow us to come in and do them in person. But now that we don't have to wait on the school, we can really try to do them as soon as possible, especially for families that have been doing social distancing for a while or haven't been active, especially for those families that were in your pack that may have walked away, trying to reconnect with them early and get them back involved and get them back in the swing of things will, again, make them feel good because they're back part of scouting and more towards some normalcy, but also will make them choose scouting before they may choose other activities to participate in. While you're selecting that first date, you might want to schedule a second rounder as well. You can do it later on September, October. The reason being is that we probably are having some unforeseen things that may interfere with our first round, whether it's some changes within COVID guidelines, or maybe there's a community event that we didn't see before we started promoting our first event. So you want to schedule that second recruitment at the same time and talk that through with your principal. You want to schedule a kid talk as well. And these are, a kid talk is an in-school presentation that either a professional or somebody from the pack can go and do to all of the kids in the school. And the reason that we bring this up now and working with the principal is many of our public schools don't allow people to come in and do them in person, but may in this virtual environment allow you to do a quick presentation out to those folks through a virtual assembly or some other activity. So asking to do a kid talk is really beneficial. It's really the best way that we know of to get kids excited about scouting and to come to a recruitment event. So if you're able to schedule one of those, and we're here to help you, it's really the favorite part of my my job as a professional scouter is getting to do those kid talks. And so we've got people here on our staff that absolutely love to go and do this and willing to help you if you're able to get one scheduled. And then once we've got that date, we've talked with that school principal, the next step is going to be contacting your district executive or your district recruitment chair and letting us know. The reason being, as soon as you have that date and you let us know and some key information, we're going to start working for your unit to help do some promotions. And we'll go over that in a little bit here, but we're going to be working hard to make sure that we get help you get as many families as possible to your recruitment event. And as much time as we have to do that, the more success we're going to have. So with that, let's start talking about promotion. We've set our date. We started to put those preliminary pieces together. Let's talk about how we're going to promote it. So if you guys could in the chat, go ahead and put in some of the ways that your pack has reached out to families to invite them to join your unit in the past. You can go ahead and put those right in chat. See if we can get a couple coming in here shortly. You can't use Kid Talks because I used that one already. That's my favorite. I get to pick that one. Okay, recruitment night signs. Absolutely. So those are great. Yard signs on school grounds. Wow, Blaine, that's excellent. I'm so glad that the folks down there in Monterey allow you guys to do that. That's awesome. Yes, Peach Jar, that's a great one as well. That will probably be very, very popular for our group this year. So those that don't know, Peach Jar is an online flyer distribution system that some schools have done. Sorry, Pacific Grove, I meant the peninsula, but yes, yeah, Pacific Grove. And yeah, so Peach Jar is a great way to get some of the information. We would prefer in-person flyers, but we do have both custom flyers for you, and we have a customized Peach Jar ready flyer that's designed to work really well through Peach Jar. So we have both of those things available for you guys. Some of the other things that we've got, flyers handed out while parents come in for back to school. Absolutely, those are great. Some of those open houses, posting stuff in the library. Blaine, you are a promotion expert. Postings on Nextdoor, that is fantastic. That is great. Scouts wear uniforms to school on a day or so. That's perfect. Jim, that's fantastic. Those are great ways to do it. It tells their class briefly about it. Oh, you guys do the kid talk from kid to kid. That's fantastic. I'm going to have to put that in my back pocket. That's a great idea. So, so thank you for all of those. Those are really great ideas. Word of mouth from Janice here has been a really, really great way. And that's going to be really, really important as we go through the fall as well, especially because people are so disconnected from one another. Being able to engage, getting your families engaged in this is going to be really important. We're going to use a lot of social media. And so encouraging your families to share social media posts out to their friends and get them engaged is going to be one of those key things that you're going to do, especially with some of these younger parents who are maybe some of the millennial generation. You know, they're very active on things like Facebook and Instagram. And so you're going to want to have them engaged in promoting on their accounts, because there's two key places that people are going to find out about your unit. First, they're going to Google your unit and see kind of what your website looks like, the BSA Scout information, is all that stuff up to date. And then the second thing they're going to look at is, you know, what are people that I know saying about this particular program? And so we're going to work to make sure that both of those experiences provide a really good first impression. So some of the other things that we have for you to use is we have some actual hard goods in those yard signs that were mentioned before that are free for you to pick up. We've got banners for Cub Scouts as well. These are all available with boys and girls on them, depending upon if you allow boys or if you allow girls, or if you do have boys and girls in your pack. We also have those flyers, both ones that can be handed out in schools or just handed out in general, that are totally customizable for your pack, and we can work with you on what you'd like to have on those. We have general templates as well, but you can also customize them as needed. We also encourage you to do some school resources using the website, marquee, parent newsletter, things like that. Using posters for community bulletins, looking at Starbucks, local businesses, coffee shops, posting some information there, especially as those businesses are open for takeout. You also want to engage some of your online and community groups as well. I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the social media online section, but thinking about some of those online communities. School open houses are great too, especially if those are virtual this year. Being able to get, you know, kind of a virtual table or just a couple minutes to talk to parents is awesome if the school allows you to do it. If you're able to do community events or you're selling popcorn, you're out in the community, that's also a great way to promote the program as well. And then, I just want to highlight Jim's idea again of getting the kids to invite other kids. That's super powerful, especially those older groups like Weeblos, where they start to be a little bit shy about going to things unless it's cool or they know somebody that's there. So let's talk through the timeline of some of our promoting and when we want to do it. So the first thing you want to do is at least 4 weeks out, or try to give as much notice as possible. You want to go ahead and let us know. We've got our recruiting support and materials order form. It's an online form that you can fill out to let us know when your recruitment is, some key information, and what materials you'd like for us to put together. Once we get that information, it's going to set a bunch of wheels in motion for our staff. The first thing we're going to do is put together that kit for you to pick up, or we can drop it by your house, leave it on your doorstep for you with all those hard goods, whether it's yard signs or banners or flyers or stickers or whatever you would like to get. We're also going to start spinning up our social media promotions as well. And so I'll talk about that here in a second, but we're going to start working on that. You are also then, as a pack, going to want to go ahead and update your websites. You want to update your Be a Scout information and pin. And for those that want to stick around at the end of the promotion, I'll do a quick walkthrough on that if you haven't done that before. But you want to get your Be a Scout up to date so that when people search for your unit, they're going to be able to find it. We're going to be driving a lot of your traffic through social media to Be a Scout for them to find you, as well as a specific link that is specific to your unit for them to sign up. So it's really key that your Be a Scout is up to date, as well as any of your online community spaces that you have where you're sharing information about your unit. Again, just want to have that really great first impression. So 3 weeks out, you want to start hanging those yard signs and community signs. You want to promote in the school, start to get some of that information out. This is really want to get your families to put a yard sign in every single one of their yards. We ordered lots of yard signs. We usually order like 300. This year we ordered 1,000. So as we anticipate this is going to be a very active election year, we expect. And we always got to fight for that good real estate, maybe a sign in front or a sign on the other side of your favorite candidate or even your least favorite candidate. Just kidding, we'll be good neighbors still. But yeah, getting those yard signs out and those banners, hanging those on the school fences as able. With people, again, being less in person, they're less able to talk to one another at school events or community organizations. The real way they might see scouting is, again, seeing a yard sign in their community. So putting that out there is one way to help promote that pack in a time where we're socially distanced. You also want a table at a school open house if possible. Again, those probably won't be happening in person, but you can probably try to do a virtual thing. So, working with your school to get all of those different school promotions going. 2 weeks out, we're going to go ahead and drop those flyers off at the school for you. And the reason that we wait until 2 weeks is because it often takes us a couple weeks to work with their school to get their language just right. They often have very strict guidelines around making sure that they're bilingual and certain disclaimers that the school puts on. So we want to make sure we get all that stuff ironed out and they've got to approve those to their district or through the principal. So once we get those put together, we're going to drop them off your school so that they'll go out at least with a week plus notice to your families to let them know. If we use Peachjar, we'll also post those because they give us a couple weeks just for us to post that, and we'll post it on your behalf. Peachjar can be expensive to promote with, but it's part of our council budget. All of our generous donors, that we have within our council boundaries helped us to pay for offer all these great recruitment resources for you guys free of charge. So. And also on 2 weeks is when you want to start promoting on social media. You want to kind of start getting a buzz. You don't want to do it too soon in front of your recruitment event because if you're doing that, it'll probably fade the viralness of the posting. People will forget about it by the time we get there. But 2 weeks out is about the right time. We'll have, again, a Facebook event for you that we'll be paying for to boost for it, and you'll want to get your families involved in sharing that out. And also, a great way is to get them engaged in sharing their own scouting story and being part of that promotion, whether it's on their TikTok or on their Instagram stories or Snapchat stories, talking about or even Facebook on how scouting is making an impact for them and promoting it to their friends to come to the recruitment event. 2 days out, you want to do that kid talk again, if you're able to do that, whether it's virtual or in person. And then on the day of, like I think Jim had said here, having scouts wear the uniform on the day of is a great reminder. Even if they're doing this virtually, they can wear that uniform at school because the kids are all going to be on camera, so you can share with them with scouting and encourage them to invite friends even in a virtual environment. Okay, so let's talk social media specifically. This is going to be a really big part of what we do this year because, again, with schools being remote, we may or may not have some of those in-person methods, whether it's hand out stickers to kids or flyers, because nobody's going to be dropping their kids off at school. So this is going to be really, really important to what we do. So let's talk specifically about the Facebook stuff that we're going to be providing for you and how that works. So when you submit that recruitment materials form to us, we're going to create a Facebook event. If your pack has a Facebook page, we're going to go ahead and make you a co-host of that event so that your pack's Facebook page can share it out with their families and they can share it out to their fellow families. We're also going to pay to boost that Facebook event. And what that means is that within a certain radius of your elementary school, depending upon how far your pack pulls from, or even a couple different locations, we're going to put a geofence around it so that anytime anybody's within that fence in the real world, they're going to get that in their feed, and they're going to scroll by it and see, oh, hey, there's this recruitment event. We've done some testing too on the market, so we'll worry about making sure that it's targeted to the right families. Are the ones that are apt to be interested in programs like Scouts, outdoor activities, looking for character development programs for the kids, all that kind of stuff, so that it goes to all those families that are really likely to join your unit. In addition to that, our National Council will be also paying for a geofence over that location as well, with some more general advertising to push people towards Be a Scout. And you'll start to see those leads come in that you can then invite people to come to your recruitment event and communicate with them directly, inviting to come to that event. We're also doing some AdWords promotions as well within our community. Our national organization picks up a lot of those AdWords. We're going to be picking up some of those through a Google grant that we have to help boost scouting within your community. Using local groups and blogs, that online experience, like I mentioned before, is really, really important. So if you've got a site for your, like a PTA group, a Facebook page, or something for your community that people interact with, getting on there and posting that you have that recruitment event and then answering people's questions can be really, really useful. So on your Facebook event, being able to jump in there and answer questions for your recruitment, talking to folks, talking a little bit about almost doing kind of like the pre-recruitment information to them, and ensure some of those details you'll cover, but give them a little bit of an idea of kind of what the program is like, is a great way to make them feel comfortable and know that you're responsive and that your unit is excited for them to participate and join your program. And also using Nextdoor. I think that was mentioned. Yeah, so Blaine talked about Nextdoor in the chat there. It's a really, really great resource as well. It's super community driven. It's very much kind of like a local forum for your pack or for your community. And if you draw from a large area with your pack, there's probably a lot of Nextdoor communities that you don't actually have access to from your current house. You're going to need to get your families engaged in helping to promote on Nextdoor as well. To make this really easy for you guys, we have the BSA Brand Center, which has lots of social media templates for you. It's got videos that talk about scouting. It's got videos that will help encourage people to sign up. It's got Facebook templates. It's got all kinds of neat graphics you can use. It's got any kind of promotional tool, whether it's everything from like a banner and poster all the way down to those Facebook assets, Nextdoor stuff. It's on there for you guys to customize and use. And so for some of the social media posts, they do have some general templates that you can just fill out and basically download the copy of it that you can then share with your families to help promote that recruitment event. So they make it really, really easy. So I mentioned those Snapchat stories with your families before. Using parent testimonials is so important. So getting your parents involved, their vote of confidence in the program that you guys provide will speak wonders to families who are looking to join the program, especially for those friends that they know that may not be involved in the program. But hey, they're like, oh, I know Brian's. Oh, he's talking about how great scouting is. If Brian's into it, we're looking at this thing, maybe we'll join and try to sign up. So it's really, really, really awesome tool. It really is very, very powerful. So getting your parents involved in this, both with the yard signs and sharing your recruitment event, is going to do wonders for getting kids to sign up in your program, especially in a time where we're not able to talk to folks one-on-one or in person. So any questions on the social media stuff before I move forward? Okay, we'll keep going. So here's just a couple of key tips to keep in mind as we get into actually conducting your recruitment items, some just general philosophies. The first thing is you want to make it welcoming. If you're doing something in person, you want to have a greeter, have sign-in sheets for this. You want to have your most friendly person, doesn't have to be your Cub Master or your committee chair, but whoever's the most friendly person to greet people and make them feel welcome. When you're doing this, you want to have somebody that's going to be comfortable using a little bit of tech too, because we're going to give you a method to help to collect people's information so that you can get them to sign up through the online registration. So having somebody that's willing to do a little bit of tech and also very friendly is important. Second principle is make it fun. I will say that a lot of, you want to at least have some element of what makes Cub Scouting so great. So whether it's like a Kahoot activity, a get to know you activity at the introduction for a virtual event, or it's some sort of like scavenger hunt or other like site activity that the kids can participate in, it makes it really, really engaging for families. And again, it gets right to why they're here for Cub Scouts, which is fun with a little bit of character development as well. You want to make sure that you keep it simple. Now, I did say make it fun, but you don't need to go crazy. There's nothing worse than putting on the full three-ring circus with the ice cream social on top of it and making it like the best recruitment ever. But we spent all that time working on the actual recruitment, but we forgot to tell people about the recruitment because we spent all the time on that. So, people are there to sign up for the program. And so it doesn't need to be something long and drawn out. 30 minutes is about what you're looking to do, whether it's virtual or in person. And so, you want to certainly make it, you want to highlight the fun stuff that you do, but you don't need to feel like this, you have to throw the biggest show ever in order to make this effective. Again, people are already there to sign up. They know that this is the sign up night and that programs are going to come down the road. Next thing is be efficient. So make sure that you're using online applications to try to make it as easy as possible. Make sure that you're able to take credit cards. That's a big thing as well. Especially when we're trying to do socially distanced items, you want to make sure that we're trying to limit contact as much as possible. So we'll give you a couple of tips through the actual process to make that easy. So for you guys, we have two different models that we're suggesting for you to do. I know if you think about probably your last experience that you had with your pack or when you had joined Cub Scouts, often the style that we've done in the past of people joining is you get the multi-purpose room, you sign up for it, or a classroom, and you have some activity outside for the kids, and then the committee chair or the Cub Master does a PowerPoint presentation inside, talk to people about Cub Scouts. It does take about 30 minutes. But you're kind of doing that sort of program. That's really not going to work for a time for like COVID where we have to be socially distanced and doing some of these other things. So really what we're encouraging, if you're going to do something in person, we encourage you to do the outside station model. And that's got 5 key stations to it. So each one of these is a table or a space where you're going to have somebody who's going to take on a different role. So it's a little bit more volunteer intensive. You're going to want to make sure that you've got enough people to each have at least one person manage these stations. So the first station is your sign-in welcome. At this one, you want to have, again, that friendliest person there who's going to collect some of the basic information. You're going to want to use the invitation manager in your My.Scouting accounts to collect that information from those folks so that you can then send them their application. If you aren't comfortable with that, or you're kind of in an area where we don't really have good internet access or good cell service, you can also do the old-fashioned, just having them sign it on a piece of paper. You do want to collect that information so that you can follow up with them afterwards in case people don't sign up. The next, they're also going to kind of give them a quick overview of what's going to go on. The next spot is going to be the who we are, what we do station. And this is where you want to stick your Cub Master. It's going to be the person that's going to talk about what scouting is in general, and then also talk about some of the specifics that the pack does. You want to have them talk, provide a calendar of items that the pack's going to do on, and give them kind of like the flow of the year and how that works. It's really important that when you're at this part that you want to, try to limit the scouting lingo as much as possible. If you're going to use a scouting buzzword like Weeblo, that you explain what that is. Again, this is the first time that many people have been engaged in Cub Scouting, and so they can be overwhelmed very quickly with all of the acronyms that we use, as well as some of the fun names that we have. The third station is the registration station. So if you're using paper applications, this is where you provide them a space. Again, if you've got a couple picnic tables to use where people can spread out to fill their applications, you can do that there. If you are using online applications, which we strongly recommend, we would suggest that you actually combine your registration station with your checkout station. The reason being is that while they're kind of at the who we are, what we do station, your sign-in person is going to actually email them a link to the application for them to fill out, so that they can just fill it on their phone. And because they already collected a lot of the information from them, it's a very quick, easy process that they'll actually be done with their application in just a couple of seconds. At the checkout volunteer ask station, this is where you're going to want to talk about things like how much it costs, how much it's, what the dues cover. You want to have a breakdown of, how much registration fees are, how much dues are going to be, what they cover, what kind of awards do you pay for, all those kind of key things, and have a discussion with them. Again, you want to have that, kind of at the same time as a registration, because people are going to want to know that before they join and before they sign up. I want to talk through, again, volunteer requirements and have them actually sign up for volunteer requirements. And I'll spend a good chunk on that in a couple of minutes on how we're going to do that. But this is the spot where that's going to happen. Then the last spot is going to be the Q&A and meet your den leader. So they've kind of gone through an assembly line of different spaces, spread out one family at a time, where they're then going to go and do a quick Q&A and meet your den leader and ask whatever questions. So you want to have your den leaders kind of by rank, kind of spread out through an open space, whether it's a park or wherever you're meeting that's outside, so that they can meet with their dens as a group. You still want to keep people socially distanced as possible, especially because we have adults there. But most of our counties, and all of our counties allow youth activities as of today, and a lot of them do have a requirement that you have to keep the groups no larger than 12, which is perfect for dens. So they're allowed to do these after school activities as a group and meet in person, as long as they're not doing other after school activities and they're not mixing groups. They're staying with their one group for at least 3 weeks before they mix into another group. So that is something that a lot of our counties have. So they can meet as a den. So your pack meetings might still have to be virtual, but still we can do some of that in-person program if families are interested and willing. And so having them spread out and be able to talk to their dens about when those meetings are going to be and what they need to do before that first meeting, any requirements they need to cover, and so on. That's a great spot for them to kind of learn about that and meet their den leader, so that they're leaving with knowing who their key contact is going to be. So that's the outside station model. Again, 5 steps. I don't know if you guys have been to Trader Joe's in the last couple of months, but it's kind of that style of, you're probably going to line up outside. There's going to be a particular pathway. You're going to have them walk through this thing. You're going to be dealing with one parent at a time or one family at a time. They're all going to be 6 feet spread out from each other to make sure that you keep it safe. But it's going to be kind of an assembly line for sign up. The second piece is going to be the second option that we have for you is going to be the virtual model. So I'm going to touch on this quickly. It's got 7 key components to it. It's a little bit closer to that old style that I talked about where you had everybody kind of doing a PowerPoint presentation. But again, it's going to be virtual, so we're going to want to make it as quick as possible and try to keep it to the point as much as possible. So the first part's an introduction and overview. At this section, you want to try to do something fun with them, whether it's a at-home craft activity that they can do with just stuff that they got lying around. A Kahoot game is super fun. Doing a little bit of trivia could be a great way to kind of break the ice. You want to get people involved in the fun and kind of make them feel like they're part of the group right off the bat. So you want to do that introduction overview and kind of have an icebreaker in there. The second is going to be the who we are, which talks a little bit about, hey, we're pack so-and-so, these are the unit leaders, we're the kids that usually attend these schools, kind of talking a little bit about some of the basics about what a pack is. And then you're going to do the what is scouting, which is a little bit more of an emotional appeal. It's going to talk about what kids are going to get out of the program, why it's beneficial to them, and why a parent would want to sign up in the first place. We've got some really great videos on our BSA Brand Center that you can download to work into the presentation. So feel free to use those as a way to help supplement your presentation. Again, it helps break it up with a video as well. Then you're going to want to do the things we do that's specific to your pack, as far as, you know, when your blue and gold is, talking about the Pinewood Derby, the campouts, all those fun things that you guys do, talking a little bit about what you do during socially distancing time to make the activities happen. And that's kind of what you want to cover there. Go over kind of the calendar for the year. Then you want to talk about how your unit is organized, and you want to talk about the volunteer roles and who those people are, who those key components are, and who their key contact is going to be. It's really important during this step, you're going to highlight that this is a volunteer program and that every parent has got a spot to make this work, and that every parent is going to be expected to volunteer. You're then going to want to answer some common questions for them. So again, how much it costs, when and where the meetings are. There's a whole bunch of different things. You know, just some of those general questions that you think people are going to have. Again, we're going to put this, so all this stuff we're going to put together in a recruitment guide, so you don't have to try to remember all this stuff. So, and we'll give you some step-by-step so that you can go through each of these things and have all those kind of key things that you want to cover. So we'll have that in that guide for you. And then the last thing you want to do is an ask to join, as well as a, hey, this is how you sign up to volunteer as a parent. So, and making that ask to join can be done by either sending them the link. You can post your own specific code that you can get from the invitation manager right in the chat that they can then click on to go ahead and start filling out their application. Or if you collected their information ahead of time, using some sort of pre-registration, you can then also email them the application to fill out as well. The nice part is if you email them the application, if they don't sign up that night, they still have access to it to then sign up if they choose to sign up at a later time. So that's what we're going to actually do for our agenda. So let's do a couple of tips. So I imagine that most of us are going to be trying to do a virtual recruiting environment. So a couple of things that you want to keep in mind. So the first one is use Webex or Zoom or some other professional grade conferencing system. You know, people may want to try to use Discord, or kids want to maybe use some of those things. The reason why you use a professional service is it gives you a lot of features that you don't get with something like Discord. It allows you to set up a waiting room. It allows you to set up pre-registration. It allows you to limit chat functions as well as sharing functions for those that are participants. You know, I think during early part of the shelter in place, when everybody kind of moved onto Zoom and some of these things, we had a lot more instances of Zoom bombing. I think a lot of those things have gone away, but part of that's because they've helped to develop some of these security features that allow you to help limit the traffic that comes in and keep control over what's shared in the meeting, which is so important. Another key tip is to make sure that you assign someone to be a moderator. Unfortunately, my compatriot, who is my moderator, was called away. It's his birthday tonight. So I'm doing this by my own, but I normally want somebody there as a moderator so that they can, again, keep track of the chat, answer people's questions there. If you're using that waiting room, allowing people to move in, kind of watching the flow of the meeting and acting as a person to keep the flow going. This really allows your presenter to really focus on delivering a great message and not being distracted with some of the things that are going on in the chat. You want to use online applications as well. Try to, whether you want to email it out using the invitation manager ahead of time. That's why we really recommend using pre-registration with something like Zoom or a GoToMeeting account, some of those services that have that, because that can be a way that you actually collect the information that you can put into the lead manager in advance so that you can actually email them the application during the presentation. So if they have that, you can go fill it out. You can also just copy paste your, if you don't want to try to do the pre-registration, you can also copy and paste in the special URL that you have for your sign up. You want to make your presentation as engaging as possible. So making sure you use a Kahoot. Zoom fatigue is everywhere, so we try not to PowerPoint people to death. I know that I'm giving you guys a lot of information on PowerPoint, and we haven't been as engaging. You certainly want to be more engaging than I am tonight, again, because you've got Cub Scouts on there, and you want to try to make it as fun for them as possible. Let them show that Cub Scouts is fun, even in a virtual environment. One other suggestion to have as well is don't post any of what your Zoom link is publicly. Don't share that directly on your Facebook, again, because you want to kind of control who's got the actual login information. So use passwords. And follow the other BSA digital guidelines that we have. We have a lot of them, and again, they're on our website. They're also on the national website. So make sure that you review those and follow those, because there's some really the best practice to make sure that you can maintain the privacy that you're looking for and prevent some of those Zoom bombers from jumping in there. So if you're going to do an in-person thing, you're going to want to consider some COVID-19 safety tips. So the first thing is, you notice that we called it the outside station model. And the reason being is you want to do your recruitment outside. I know that a lot of times our packs will still do that, at the school, kind of in the outdoor cafeteria area. We really want to encourage everybody to do that. Even if it's allowed within your county at that time, outside is just safer than inside. So, using a local park or community area that's well known can work really well in a pinch. I've been to several throughout our council that do them in the parks, and they're super effective. So don't worry if it's a little bit different from what you've done in the past. Parks can work just as well as doing it at the school. Again, make sure that you're dealing with one single family at a time. Stay spread out, maintain social distancing, setting up tables or ground markers to make sure that you maintain that distance is important. If you have a table, you can have a leader stand on one side of it about 3 feet back, and then you can have the parents on the other side of it so that you stay socially distanced. Use online resources as much as possible to limit sharing. Using things like the QR code to get people access to the application, or again, using online registration to email it to them. Using cashless readers like PayPal, or some of those cashless Square readers can be a great way to collect dues as well. Package and sanitize handouts like shirts and slides. Put them in a Ziploc bag that's sanitized. You can put them on a table to allow people to pick them up directly as opposed to trying to hand them out to folks. We're going to be handing out handbooks as part of our incentive this year. So again, you want to try to package those and make sure that you try to keep it sanitary for folks. You want to make them feel comfortable and knowing that you guys are taking care of their safety. Make sure that you require in your promotions that people are required to wear masks at your event. I know that some people are a little bit lax depending upon what community you are when they're in an outdoor setting. And so because there's still going to be an opportunity for kids to mingle or for parents to be closer to one another, we still, even though we're in an outdoor setting, which is much safer, we want to make sure that we require masks for those people and to promote it and have them expect to be wearing, or that they'll expect to be wearing masks to get there or while they're there. You want to make sure you keep those youth and den groups and social distance as possible. Again, I said before about how some of those counties have those 12 youth limit for their cohort groups for activities. So you want to make sure that you maintain that if it's required. And the last important point, and it's the most important of them all, is make sure that you follow all of your county and state guidance for your area. So we do have some links to that guidance for youth programs on our website. If you go to our COVID-19 page, and we update that as we see new guidance to help direct you to where you need to get to. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out to the council and we can help guide you through that as much as possible. And in cases there's area of confusion for you, to help kind of guide you through that. So those are some of the safety tips. So like I promised, we're going to use recruitment to not only recruit kids, but we're going to get parents involved in it as well. So here is a quote that the founder of Scouting, Robert Baden-Powell, had stated, and I think it's really applicable even for Cub Masters, which is, when you want a good thing done, don't do it yourself, is a good motto for Scout Masters, or in this case, Cub Masters, or committee chairs, or den leaders, right? So many hands make light work. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys, there's a raise hand feature that you can do in your participant window. What I want you to go ahead and do is I want you to go ahead and raise your hand if you have too many parent volunteers in your pack. The question is, too many parent volunteers in your pack? And I'll go ahead and wait for those responses to come in. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. All right, so I don't see any. Okay, because the problem with volunteers is we always need one more than we currently have, right? Always with all of these things with Cub Scouts, we always want more volunteers. So let's talk a little bit about how we can help solve that, right? And get to a spot where we've got enough volunteers covering all those things that we want. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna unmute everybody. This is again a participation, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody, and this is going to be a everybody participates thing. So go ahead and unmuting everybody. So those that are unmuted, I want you to say it with me. This is your new PAX motto. Every family volunteers. Every family volunteers. That's right. So this is your new PAX motto. I want you guys to So take that to heart. Remember, this becomes your new motto of your pack, right? There's no more armies of one here. This is a group effort. So let's look at some of the ways that we can actually make that a reality. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to set expectations early. You have to remember that all these people that are joining your program, they have never experienced scouting before. They don't know what the culture has been of your unit. They don't know what the expectations are going to be of them. So it's our job to let them know what that is. So the first thing that we're going to do right from the get-go, from their first experience of the pack, is we're going to tell them what the expectation is, which the expectation is every family volunteers. So there's a couple ways that we're going to reinforce that. So the first thing is a giant list of little jobs, which will work for you whether you're doing a virtual environment or you're doing it in person. And basically what it is, it's a big list of everything that the pack does, from the committee chair all the way down to bringing snack to the pack meeting and everything in between, whether it's serving on the committee for the Pinewood Derby, being a den leader, an assistant den leader, or leading an activity. All that stuff is on this list. Everything that you guys can think of is on there. And all of it's given a grade, whether from a 1 to a 6. 6 being the Cub Master, though that's really like counts for 8 because it's one of the bigger jobs. Same thing with committee chair. But everybody has to sign up for at least 6 blocks worth of stuff. So bringing a snack might be worth 1 block for 2 pack meetings, right? And so they'll have to bring, basically snack for most of the year if they want to try to do that. The nice part about this system is it allows people the flexibility to maybe take a medium-sized job and a couple small jobs or a lot of small jobs, or if they're like, I really want to be involved, I got the time, I can be the den leader, that's going to be their role and what their responsibility is. So at the checkout station, you're going to have this giant list of little jobs, and they're going to write their name in all these blocks until they get to 6 blocks worth of stuff. And then this way they know what their volunteer position is. Because we're dealing with people one-on-one, you can be able to answer questions and talk to them about all those positions and what it entails and walk them through what those positions are and how they can sign up. A second option is going to be the point system. Sorry, before I move on, let's go back to giant list of little jobs. So the nice part about that is if you're doing it in person, you can have a sheet of paper that they can actually write that into that you can collect. If you're doing it online, you can then take that and upload it into a Google Sheet that you can share as a link to then have people fill that in and then let them know that part of you approving their application to join the pack is they have to go ahead and fill out those 6 spots before you'll go ahead and approve that application, which is, again, your little bit of leverage there to make sure that every parent signs up to volunteer. The next is the point system, which is kind of like the giant list of little jobs, where you can give everybody a list of all those jobs that are out there and let them know by the end of the year they have to fill in so many points worth of stuff. So if it's the den leader, it's worth 100 points, which is everything. Again, it's kind of assigning how much of a value to different things. And so almost a little more of a choose your own adventure. You don't get everything up front, but allows people to see what the pack is a little bit and understand kind of what the different positions entail, so that then they can know how best to volunteer throughout the year, and allows them to fill that up. So you may run into a situation where people are still a little bit shy to step up and volunteer for a role and will need some help with some suggestions. So there's 2 resources that we have to help direct that conversation. The first is a parent talent survey. And so you can have them fill this out either electronically or you can have a paper copy that we have as a resource. You can use that to actually understand where their interests are and what resources they might have. You can also review youth and adult leader applications. So looking through those to see, are they an Eagle Scout? Maybe they want to be a den leader. Are they a police officer? So could they arrange the activity at the police station? So using some of those key things to identify ways that they can volunteer and say, hey, I see this on your application. We need this particular thing. Would you be willing to be involved in that? And suggest it. And oftentimes that'll help get them over the edge to say yes. The last point that I have is a personal ask is more effective than asking a whole group. So many times when people want to ask, they will ask a big room of folks and all they hear is crickets. The reason that we suggest using the station model is, again, it allows you to talk with families one-on-one, which means that they have to have a conversation with a key person on stepping up to volunteer. And people are more likely to say yes if you approach them directly and say, hey, this is a parent-run pack. Everybody's got to help out. Here's our giant list of jobs. We need you to select at least 6 stuff. There's a lot of flexibility in here to help meet your schedule. Here's some of the key things. How would you guys like to volunteer? And that can be as simple as the pitch is right there to getting them engaged in volunteering. So let's talk through some ways of keeping families engaged after we've actually done the recruitment. So the first thing is turn in registrations ASAP. Approve those registrations as fast as you can after they submit them so they can get in the system and participating in Scout Book and other resources. Make sure you follow up with those families within 2 days to make sure that they know that they're connected to the pack. Email them those resources that you were talking about, whether it's the calendar or the dues form or what they need to pick up for their uniform. Make sure they have all those resources in a follow-up email, again, so that they know that they're part of the program, they've signed up and they're engaged. Make sure they have a follow-up meeting as soon as possible and some sort of activity within the first month. There's nothing wait than getting people to sign up and then it's like a hurry up and wait situation where they don't have anything to engage. And often we lose a lot of families that way because they sign up and then they don't hear from their den leader or from the pack again. And so knowing when the next meeting is within a week will help them feel engaged and stay with the program. Encouraging adults to take youth protection training, especially those new leaders that have signed up, to get them so that they can get meeting right away. Remind them of all the fall activities, next pack meeting that are coming up. Use the council activities to help supplement some of the programs that you guys are doing in your unit as a great way to get them out and engaged. We are working actively with the health department and we're making some really great progress to be able to actually offer some in-person Cub Scout activities at Cheeseboro and High Sierra this fall. So there'll be some options for kids to be able to get outside, do some camping and participate in some of those hands-on activities. And the last thing is really to make sure that if you have a new den leader, make sure they have a coach and they've got a point person, either an experienced den leader that had the program last year to kind of help guide them, or use your unit commissioner as well to help give them that guidance that they're looking for. So here's some resources and who should provide these to the families. So as a council, we've got onboarding kits that we can give you for those in-person recruitments. They've got the family talent surveys, applications, some general information about Cub Scouts that you can hand out to folks for in-person recruitments. We also have, you should be providing them a unit calendar dues breakdown and a unit contact sheet. You can set it together as one really nice front and back page with contact sheet on one side, calendar and dues breakdown on the other, or vice versa, however you can make it fit. Invite your unit commissioner to participate in your recruitment event. Let them know, use them as a resource for families to answer questions that are larger about scouting, like the council as well. Use your professional staff as well as to help with your recruitment event. Also use Scout Book and the Scouter Weekly as a way to get them engaged right away. We sign up all of our families when they join to give us an email address for the Scouter Weekly and allow them to opt out. But we want to make sure that they know about some of those great resources that they have. And we do some introductory emails to make them feel welcome to the program and kind of give them some additional direction. So that's also why it's really important that we get those applications approved as soon as possible. So I do just want to highlight Scout Book, especially in this time during COVID. It's great because the kids can get involved right off the bat in doing their requirements and checking them off and getting them approved by their den leader and the pack leadership. So they can get started right away working on those adventures by themselves in a social distance environment and see the progress they're making right from day one as soon as that application's approved. It's free for you guys to use. They make updates to it all the time. So if you tried it a couple years ago and you weren't really a fan, try it again. It's really, really useful. So feel free to do that. Also, there's a great mobile app feature as well. I would just want to mention we do have an incentive this year that you can use to help promote. So anybody that signs up either online or at your recruitment event between August 1st and September 30th or August 1st is going to get a free Scout handbook for their rank. For those that do in-person recruitments, we'll give you some to actually hand out at your recruitment. Or we'll have a representative to drop them off at your recruitment event. Or we will be able to distribute them out of the Scout office for those online applications that they do. If you do online applications and an in-person recruitment, we'll give it to them at the recruitment event. But if you do a virtual thing, they can pick it up at the office when they come in to purchase their uniform from the front desk. So as we wrap up here, just want to close out with some key resources that we have for you guys. So we've got some national webinars that are going on through the rest of the month. We've done a bunch of these local webinars for the fall program week. I hope this is one of the last ones that you guys are doing. We do have a couple more tomorrow on popcorn and virtual program activities. You want to participate in those. All this information we're going to collect and put in a Cub Scout recruitment playbook. We're putting on the finishing touches on it, so we should have that in the next couple of weeks to send out to you as a reminder for this. Next week, after we complete all of our sessions tomorrow, we're going to start emailing out this presentation, and we're recording this so it's available for you guys to go back and reference on our YouTube channel as well, so you have those resources. If you're looking for that big list of little jobs to use, it's on our website for you to customize as a spreadsheet that you can download. Encourage you to go visit that BSA Brand Center as well so that you can see some of those virtual resources that we have to help promote your recruitment event. And again, one last plug for Scout Book just because it's so great. So with that, we'll go ahead and if you guys want to go ahead and unmute, we'll start to answer whatever questions you have. If you don't have any questions, it was great to talk to you, and we'll see you guys later. And those that stick around that want to see the how to use the invitation manager, I'll do a quick overview with that as well. So with that, what questions can I answer for you?